Welcome everybody, thanks for joining me again on this series of videos that we are doing this room makeover and using Lick Pro Paints. Now you've seen the videos previously where we're just painting these alcove units, cabinets, whatever you want to call it, and we're now getting ready to actually paint the ceiling with Lick Pro Paint. So at the start of this video you actually saw me rubbing down that chimney breast wall with, I've got it there, the Mirka and the Daros and a 180 fine pad really. Now the reason I've sanded that all down, because previous video you've seen in that corner, I got some cracks around that fireplace. So what I've done the right thing, raked them out, put a bit of peel stop in them to stop the flaky paint, because there was a little bit of flaky paint coming. I explained that in the last video. I put some scrim tape over those cracks. And what I've done, I've actually filled the cracks using the Prestonet Multi-Light. And if you want to see a more in-depth video of actually using the Prestonet Multi-Light, please check out that video. In the corner, you can skim walls out, hence why I've done that. So over the last couple of nights, because I'm working at home clearly, I've done a layer of filler over the scrim tape. I've done it, the first initial putting the scrim tape on and layering it with the Multi-Light. Then the next day I came back, gave it another one, and then the third night, which was actually last night, I skimmed and floated out all of the wall, top to bottom, because I knew I could sand it back really nice and smooth, and that wall is going to be a feature wall of something. Watch this space. So that said, it is now rubbed down and smooth and as good as it's going to get. The cracks have all, as of now, disappeared, and the plan is to actually get this primed. And you're going to say, what am I priming it with? I'll put that down. I'm going to give a shout out, no sponsorship by anybody clearly, but Patrick at Iconic Walls, and if you want to know about the products that Patrick sells, it's the Rusty Wall Effect. I did that last year, please check out that video. Patrick reached out to me and said, Phil, I see that you do some bare plaster wall work. Yes, clearly. He'd got a product and he just sent me a litre, just a small sample of this Jerga. And you know how good I thought the Jerga products were. Please watch that video over there. And it's a wall primer. Now, I can't read Polish, but he has told me that this can be applied straight onto a surface that's porous and it seals it, like using a Guards or those sorts of products. You can actually put it on with a roller, but I've got my trusty Brewers paint kettle. Thank you very much, Sally. I'll say thank you, Sally, at Brewers of Nottingham, because that's where I got my paint kettle from. I'll give her a shout out because she's great to me. Known Sally years, known her a long, long, long while. Known her ever since I've started decorating. So now she's manageress of the Brewers branch in Nottingham. I'll give a big thumbs up, she's brilliant. So, I'm digressing. I've got a Lick Pro Paint, I've got a Lick brush, and I'm just going to apply this primer sealer to that wall, top to bottom, so it's ready for painting later on. This video will blend into me actually talking about painting this ceiling in Lick Pro Paint in a matte finish. So let me get this primed. You'll see me doing a bit of priming. We'll do some clever editing and I'll blend into actually doing the ceiling and we'll talk you through that. So see you on the other side. And if by magic, there we are, we've blended from one colour top to another. Yeah, now that was last night, I'm now in the daytime. That primer sealer, the Jerga primer sealer, I'll give it a thumbs up. That feels lovely. All I've done is gone over it with a Goldflex Mirka pad because I could just see a couple of bristles on from the brush that he used. Don't forget, it does say you roll it. Don't thin it because it'll alter the consistency of it to stop it being a splattery primer, because it's not supposed to splatter. But that said, I'm quite happy with that. Right, back on today, the one you're all wanting to know all about. Back on with the Lick Pro paint. Now this colour is White 06. It is very similar to probably what's already on at the moment, which was Magnolia Eclipse. It was Macpherson's Eclipse Magnolia, and I did that, what, 17, 18 years ago. And I sprayed it, I wash coated and I sprayed. And don't laugh at me, those that know about spraying, I'd only got a 310 spray tip, but do you know what? I managed to spray these ceilings perfect, and they look really good even now. Right, we're moving on to 2024. I've got the Lick Pro paint. I've got 2.5 litres to do this ceiling, should be ample. Now, I have tried it a little bit in the corner. It doesn't feel like it needs thinning. Some people always say, oh, thin your paint. The only trouble is, unless you've tried the paint on the surface that you're going over, I wouldn't advise to thin the paint unless you've tried it first, because some paints can seem can seem thick when you mix them up, but actually the application of it is not thick, it's quite thin. So always try before you start adding any water to it. I'll do exactly the same. If I feel that it feels a bit round, a little bit puddingy, I'll add a splash of water to it, but not a lot, just to make it go on a little bit better. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm not going to be a 20-minute video with this. We've already had a section where it's gone on a little bit, and I want to just tell you about painting this ceiling, which is dead easy. I've got a 9-inch roller frame on a roller pole, and that's my top tip Tuesday for anybody. If you're doing ceilings, if you're doing walls, get yourself a roller pole that expands like that. Make life a lot easier for yourself. 9-inch rollers, I've got the 2 out. I like the Rota Golds. Now, there's a long pile and there's a medium pile. Long pile are ideal if you've got a textured surface, if you've got a blown vinyl, if you've got an anaglypta wallpaper, if you've got a ceiling that's got an Artex on it. More of a medium pile roller is better for your flatter surfaces. It's all to do with orange peel and leaving a texture on the surface. But I have to say, these rollers leave a lovely finish. So if you are using a longer pile roller on some walls and your paint consistency's spot on, I think you'll find it goes on lovely and doesn't give you too much of an orange peely effect on your wall. So that said, don't discount a long roller sleeve, long pile for certain situations. Today, because I've got a flat ceiling, I'm going for the medium. I'm going to tell you, you don't need to wash these out every time you come to use them. Wash them out when you first get them new, ideally the day before or earlier from when you need to be painting. It's only to get that fluff off the surface. You can wrap masking tape around it and pull it off and get it off, but once these have been washed out a number of times, they're ready to go. Now what I do, I get it on a roller frame. I'll show you. I'll get it on a roller frame like so, and what I do, while I go around cutting in, I let this stand in the paint. Now the paint is down there, and what I do, I will load the roller up so the roller has got paint on it. Now the moisture of the paint, the moisture on the paint, I'll say that again, the moisture in the paint will activate, or whatever you want to do, will soften up that roller sleeve. So by the time I come round to that, which will be in about 15 minutes, that will be lovely and ready to go. It's quite simple. I'm going to give this brush a whirl. I've got a 2 Fussy Blokes 2.5 inch. Now this coving is a little bit intricate. It's straightforward, but it's intricate. I think that will get in nicely and put a nice amount of paint on without being too much paint going on. If I got a proper emulsion brush like a 3-inch or a 4-inch might be a little bit too much, but that 2.5, I'll have a little bit more control over it. I've tipped it out into my paint kettle, which is the Brewers paint kettles. I told you about this. Sally at Brewers in Nottingham, well, you can buy them from there. That's stands to reason, doesn't it? Right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go round now and do the coving. I'll show you a little bit of section where I'll start in a corner. Start in the corner and work your way round. When I go round, I will go onto the wall, only by an inch or two, just to go onto the wall and also the ceiling. You don't need to be going around with a mini roller with this. You will cut in onto the ceiling nicely, and then when you go with your big roller, you'll get in as close as you possibly can. Now, I'm an expert, so I know how to roll ceilings. It's quite simple. What I'm going to do for the first coat, I will cut the whole coving in, and then I will start from the window and work my way back. It's a roller. Don't worry about going in the same direction. You can go any which way you want, because the idea is your wet edge isn't drying off enough on you and it should all blend out nicely. But what you'll see me do is probably finish off in a certain direction that is easier for me. If there's obstacles in the room, sometimes you can't go one way, you have to go another, but don't worry about that. You'll see some people on TikTok and Instagram and everything, and you'll see them doing the stripes up and down or going one way and the other. That's not the idea. That is not the idea of a roller. The whole idea of a roller is you put it on in that W-V sort of patterning and shape, and you can leave it and move on to the next section. I'm not telling you how to suck eggs or anything, grandmother, but yeah, just don't overcomplicate it. Now, I will be going round the window. If you just see up there, I'm going to bring the ceiling down above the window, because that's where the curtain rail goes, and it actually looks nice to actually take it in with the ceiling and make the sides look like columns and not bring the wall colour round above there, because the wall colour is the same colour as what the woodwork is, just in a matte finish. That'll be another video. While I'm pointing these out, I have gone over these areas with the Lick tape and drape just to protect them from any paint spots that might go on. Now I've sprayed those. It's been a couple of days since they've been sprayed, so they are actually hardening up. I've got the doors on. I don't know if you can see that. They just need a little bit of leveling up on the hinges, you know how you tweak them. And I've also just gone around putting some paper above the sill, that one silhouetted. That's on the hand masker. Those, look in the description below if you want to buy one of these. I've got these in my Amazon storefront, so they are available to buy. Amazon gives me a small commission if anybody purchases anything, so that's good. Thank you, it's only small. I've also tape and draped where the doors are, just to protect anything that's going to drop. Now, when I do come to do the walls, which is in the matte finish of the salmony colour, the red 06, the Lick paint, I will run a little bit of tape around the top edge just to protect it, because we've got two different finishes. Now, that said, if I don't like the matte finish on the walls, I have got enough of the eggshell finish, which is also suitable to put on the walls. Now, the beauty with this Lick paint is you can spray it, you can roll it, you can brush it. It's dry within about an hour, and recoat time's about 2 to 4, depending on your conditions. You might actually be able to get another coat on a bit quicker if it's dry. Water washable, all good to go. So that's what I'm going to do. Get started. I'm going to go up there, start bringing it round. I'll start from the corner. I like working right to left because I'm right-handed. Do all the coving first, and then let's finish off with the ceiling. While you're asking me, the light above me, I have just ran a little bit of tape around it just in case I can't cut in neat enough. I'm going to tell you, always work from one side of the kettle. That way you don't get covered in paint. All you do is work from one side of the kettle, rotate your brush around on that one side, picking up paint as you go along. Now, I'm going to be cutting in the top part first, and there you will see me just feathering off and brushing off that edge so there's no fatty edge. I start bringing down the next section of coving like that. Bring it onto the concave shape on the inside. Make sure I've got enough paint on the brush to brush it out. I'm going to do that there, and then I drop onto the section that's on the wall. And as I say, I'm only going down onto the wall by about an inch. Doesn't matter if you go a bit more. It's just so you can cut into it nicely. Right, my back's to you. I'm coming across this section, just feathering the corner out. I'll come all the way across here. Now, I could have actually painted the walls and the coving all the same, but because this is an old house, it dates 1911, the coving that was fitted, which I had fitted in about 2007, it was handmade. It's a hand cast coving, proper plaster. The top edge isn't very straight, and I think if we'd have painted the walls and coving the same colour, we would have highlighted that imperfection and made it look a little bit of a pig's ear. So far so good. The paint's actually going on really nice. I've told you before, I've used this paint in the other room. Please check out the playlist on the room renovation where I changed the dining room into a games room for the kids, a TV room. I was happy with the paint there, it went on really nice. The only thing I didn't like is the colour that I picked, because I picked black. Very critical for marks. Right, I've just done that section of concave. I'm not bringing the bottom edge of the coving across now. I won't subject you to too much of this painting malarkey. I will come back to you when I've gone all the way around and I'm starting with the rolling. But for now, I think you can get the idea on how I paint a ceiling. Do the coving first, then come back to the ceiling centre or where the light is. So there we go. All that section's done. I can actually see it drying off already, which is good. And I'm quite happy with that. I will just interact. Where I'd had any nail pops, they were filled and they were smooth. I didn't need to sand the surface down of the ceiling because the ceiling's good, it's flat, it's flush. There's no point in needing to rub that down. You don't need to provide a key when you're emulsioning like that. So all is good. You'd only be sanding down if there was noggins on it or bits or it was rough. So all good. I'm going to crack on and I will catch you when I get the roller out. Right, I've cut all that in. Gone on nice. It actually brushes really nice. It didn't need thinning, it seemed fine. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get that roller out, which is now down at the bottom of the room, just there. It's soaked in nicely to the paint with the roller sleeve being that medium pile. I'm going to start over in that corner there, above the bay window. I'm going to come this way. Now, if you can see what, yes, you can. When you look across the ceiling, you look towards the light and you can see where you've missed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to work from the light coming all the way down. Now, I might take it off focus, we'll see. I'll get so far along and then I'll stop and I will see you later. Right, away we go. You've just seen me loading back up the roller sleeve, which is soaked in with paint nicely, so it's all bedded in. The extension on the roller pole, I've just made it a bit longer to make it easier to reach the ceiling. Now, currently I'm just going around those edges that I feathered off when I was cutting in the ceiling stroke coving. I'm just reloading again because we need to get a bit more paint on to bed that roller in a little bit more. The beauty of not wetting in that roller sleeve prior to painting is, I've had it before when I've worked with a wet roller sleeve. It's quite easy to put a little bit too much pressure actually onto the surface when you're rolling and ooze milky water out, including mixing into your paint. So that's why I don't like to do that. I like to bed the actual roller into the paint and not go with a wet roller going into the paint. Now you can physically clearly see we've got a wet edge going on there. You can see where I've been and where I'm going. That's why you work from the light to the non-light area of the ceiling. I'm not doing an up down motion. I'm going a little bit any which way I can just to make sure that I can get it all coated up. Now when I come to doing the actual second coat, I know that the first coat's virtually all covered. There'll be very little misses on that area. If you're looking now, you can just see that that ceiling is drying off. That's how quick it actually dries. Right, we've just moved the tripod round and I'm hoping you can see what I can see. You can see that the Lick Pro paint, which is a matte emulsion, it's in colour white 06. It is slightly lighter than the original ceiling colours I had. I've got a feeling it was Magnolia. It was an Eclipse, McPherson's Eclipse Magnolia. Now, as I said earlier in the video, I only had a 310 spray tip, and I thinned that paint down really to probably about a 50% mix because I was going over brand new plaster. Now, roll on 18 years, I'm now coming in with a nicer quality paint. As I said earlier in the video as well, this paint isn't thinned. It goes on nicely, it applies nicely, and there was no need for thinning. If I did need to thin it, you just put a small amount of water to it, with it being a water-based product. You could quite possibly get away with putting something like a Smith & Roger Flow and Bond paint conditioner. But on this ceiling with this paint, I didn't feel the need for anything like that. And I'm just looking, I've nearly finished. So I'll say keep watching because we're going to come back with a little bit more, well, nuggets of information. You know what I'm like. So there we have it. We've actually got the first coat on. Now, I'll probably fast forward that 4 years so you didn't have to endure 10 minutes of rolling the ceiling. It actually goes on all right. The medium pile doesn't hold very much paint. If you got a longer pile, you'd hold more paint and you could roll out a little bit more. I don't know whether you could see from that angle looking back how quick the emulsion on that ceiling was going off because we were going over a cheap contract, Eclipse emulsion. Now, I'm not going to make you sit through me doing a second coat on that. I'm going to say to you, please bear with us, watch the videos at the end, and I will see you tomorrow when we start talking about doing these walls, and you can then see what the ceiling's like. So it's a little bit of a, ooh, what was the ceiling like? I will show you tomorrow. So the ceiling will be drying off next couple of hours. I'll see what it's like. If I can get a second coat onto it tonight, I will do. Failing that, it'll be first thing in the morning, but you will see me when we talk about doing these walls. And I know some of you asking already, what am I doing with that? I'm going to have a second attempt at doing a bit of gold leafing, but it won't be gold leaf, it'll be copper. So I've already got it, it's arriving very shortly, and that will be copper leaf on that wall, imitation copper leaf. But I think I know where I went wrong last time. Right, see you tomorrow. Please watch the videos at the end. Job's a good one.